Hello and good morning to everyone who's here for the webinar today. I am Kedar. I work at EzzyBills as a software engineer. I am going to present today's webinar on employee expense claims and the new feature that we have developed, that's budgeting and reports. So before we begin with the webinar, I would like someone to just confirm that they are able to hear me clearly. I have enabled the chat section for all of you. And if you have any questions, any queries at any given point in time while I'm speaking on this webinar, feel free to pop the questions in the chat. Oh, I've got quite a few responses here. All right, nice. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Okay, so I'm going to explain how this webinar is going to be structured. So I'm going to talk about especially employee expense claims and budgeting that we have newly introduced. So we will start with employee expense claims, how you can add employees in your EzzyBills account in your settings as users, and then how you can give them access and the easiest methods for them to be able to connect their EzzyBills phone app with the EzzyBills account. So I'm going to talk about that first, and then we will go on to in details into mobile app settings configurations. I'm going to show you some easiest methods as to how it can be done. Moving on, I will talk on the budget control feature, the budgeting, which we have newly introduced, and how you can achieve budgeting, how you can set budget control for projects or for employees, and how you can control that, how much is the spend on that particular project using the workflows. And towards the end, we will see how the budgeting reports look and what all the spends have been done so far on that particular workflow or on that particular project or by that particular employee. Okay, so let's begin. Let's go to the employee expense claim section and let's see how we can add employees. So I'm going to take you to EzzyBills now. So this is how your EzzyBills must look. So this is the dashboard screen where you can drag and drop bills. You can switch accounts from the drop down up right on the top, and you will see some bills that you have uploaded previously. So whenever you're adding employees as users, it happens in settings. So let's go into settings. In settings, there are three sections: account settings, approvals and expenses, and advanced options. So we're going to go in approvals and expenses. That's where you will add your employees in the list of users table. So in approvals and expenses, if you have the approval section on, you might need to scroll down on the page to find the table list of users. If you don't have it, you will straight away see it. So this is the list of users table, list of users and approvers. This is where we will add the employees to with the correct settings for employee expense claims or spend money transaction. So we support both. Since I'm covering employee expense claims, the focus is going to be how that happens, but I'm happy to show you the spend money settings as well. So to add now, I already have added two lines, two users here, but I'm gonna add one more. So to add, I'm just gonna simply click on this plus button here. As soon as I click on plus button, there will be a new row that will be inserted in the top about these two. So I click on add, and then there is a new row that has been inserted. Now I'm gonna just click under the name and I'm gonna type the name of the employee. Let's say Teddy, for example. And so if it so happens that that person is also going to use employee expense claims as well as he also has a spend money bank card or company credit card, so we usually recommend that you can add his name and something after the name to identify whether this is like this is an expense claim or this is a spend money. Like here I have added, this is my name, Kedar. So I have added EXP for employee expense claims and Visa for the Visa card that I have. So let's add EXP here. So I've added the name Teddy EXP. And there are three things that are required, and you will need to put it in when you're adding a user. First is, of course, the name that we have put it in. Now we need to take expenses, my expenses, because we are adding this setting as employee expense. So let's take my expenses. And the third setting is if you would like to, if Teddy uploads anything, would you like to send it to his manager, or does he need approval, or does he not need approval? So you will send it directly to your accounting system. Depending on that, whether you need approval or you do not need approval, you will do the third thing here, which is if you don't need the approval, there is bypass approval. You just got to take the bypass approval, correct? And once you've done the name, you've taken my expenses, and when you have clicked bypass approval, you just got to click on save button. After you click save, notice EzzyBills generates an upload email address specifically for that person. So if you notice, I see there are 3 email addresses here, but all 3 of them are unique, correct? So this is for Teddy, Teddy EXP, this is for Kedar EXP, and this is for Kedar Visa. So once you've added the setting, there are 2 methods that a person can use to upload his expense claim. First one is mobile phone app, which we will talk in detail in about the next session, the next part of this session. And the second method is you can just give him this email address. And if he uploads or if he sends anything onto that email address, it will be processed as an expense claim. So there are 2 different methods. One is mobile phone app and the second one is email, right? Now, if instead of bypass approval, if in your business you require that anything that employee uploads needs to go to the manager or team lead or approver first, and then it should land into your accounting system, then you will configure that accordingly. In that case, you will not take the bypass approval button. Instead, you need to tell EzzyBills who should EzzyBills send the bills to approval if this person uploads the bills or receipts. And then in approver email, you can type or copy paste that email. For example, let's say something like this. So now I have, what I've done is I have unticked bypass approval and I have added an approver email address. That simply means anything that Teddy uploads using this setting will be sent to that email address for approval first. And once the manager approves, then it will move on to the accounting system. Then it will be exported to the accounting system. Remember, if you do any changes in here, it's very essential that you click on the Save Approval button, correct? So that's how you will add the employee expense claim setting. Now, coming to the spend money or company credit card setting, it's exactly the same, not much difference. Let's go and add one for Teddy. Let's say if Teddy has a business card too. So I'm going to go and I'm going to type the name Teddy. And let's say he has a credit card. So let's say CC, for example. You can also type the last 4 digits of credit card that you've given him, anything that suits you. So you've typed that. And then in expense claims, we ticked my expenses. But in this setting, we're trying to add him as a company credit card. And we want anything that he uploads to go in Zero or in your accounting system in that credit card or in that bank account and sit there as unreconciled transaction, which will then help you to reconcile whenever your bank feed or bank statement or credit card statement comes in. Zero helps you reconcile that, gets uploaded, amounts are matched, and you see the matched amounts and you just click OK. So it's very essential to put in the last 4 digits of either the bank account or the card that you have in Zero. I'll quickly show you where you can see those settings in Zero. So if I go to my Zero, in Zero, you have a banking section. That's where you will have all your cards. And so in accounting, you have bank accounts. This is where you will have all your bank cards and credit cards, everything added. So in here, see, this is Westpac credit card. So the last 4 digits I see are 7890. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add those last 4 digits in here, 7890. Correct? So whenever Teddy uploads anything, it will go in Zero under that bank account. and it will sit as an unreconciled transaction, something like this. Now, this is not uploaded by Teddy. This is uploaded by Kedar CC. You can also see my name there, and that's exactly the same name that you will see in my EzzyBills settings. So this is where it goes. So again, key things: name, business bank account number, and depending on whether you need approval or you don't need approval, you can either click bypass approval or you can either put in approver's email address. I'm going to click bypass approval here. Essentially, whenever it's a spend money transaction, the money has already gone out from the bank account. So most people would not need approval because that money's already gone out and you need to reconcile it for what it was. So I'm going to click Save Settings. As soon as I click Save Settings, EzzyBills generates one more email address for this particular setting. Now we just added two different settings for Terry, and both the email addresses are different and unique for that particular setting. Now again, he gets two options. Option number one is either he sends it email to this email address if it's a spend money, if he has spent that from the company card, or if he has configured his mobile phone with this alias, then he can just simply click a picture and it comes through to EzzyBills as a spend money. And so on and so forth. So the more users you want to add, EzzyBills allows you to add practically unlimited users. You can keep adding users as many as you want. Um, Remember that even if it's one person, but if there are two objectives that we're trying to achieve, one is you have given him a company credit card and you want to reconcile it against zero. So you want easy reconciliation. So you set it up as a company credit card or spend money setting, as we call it. That's one. And the second one is going to be sometimes, he spends from his own pocket and then you're going for employee expense claims. That's the second. So if you have two objectives and one employee, then you will have to add two settings for that employee. And then he will needs to select the correct setting when he's uploading bill, just as he needs to send it to the correct email address. Anything he sends to Teddy EXP will be processed as an employee expense claim. Anything he sends to Teddy CC will be processed as a spend money transaction. Okay, so I do see one question, which is Julie's asked, can each user have separate QR code for the app? Not really, because as of now, the way it's structured, it's separate alias for each user. So if they're using alias, the QR code is just a method that gives you a connection with your account, correct? It's essentially the password that you have put in when you've created an EzzyBills account, but we don't want to show that password, right? So that is the reason we put it into QR code. However, if it all this question is coming because you're not able to identify who's uploading, then it's the alias that needs to be configured and it's the alias that needs to be passed on to that user. Oh, yes, absolutely. So I have an interesting question from Yushen. Since we have connected our EzzyBills to Simpro already, could we connect to Zero at the same time just for expense claims and credit cards, etc.? Absolutely, yes. The way that would work is you must have two accounts wherein your first EzzyBill account is connected with Simpro, and then you will have a sub account or child account which is connected to Zero. So then you need to add users in your Zero account. So right now I just have one account. If I had two accounts and if I want to add users in both, so I have different companies or one Simpro and one Zero, then I'll need to add users in the respective account in that settings. So this is my Zero. I want to add users in I want to process anything they upload should go to my Zero. That's the reason I'm adding users in my Zero account. If I had a Simpro account and I want to give employee access so that they can use mobile phone app and upload the bills onto a job or bills onto a PO, something like that, then I would add the users in Simpro, and then I'll need to send them both the accounts. So you will understand it when we move in the next section as to how to configure like how to tell them to configure their EzzyBills phone app correctly. Okay, so moving on, I believe everyone is clear with how they can add users and what settings are required. To reiterate, three key things are important. First one is the name, which we call alias name in mobile phone app settings. The second one is depending on whether you are adding an employee expense claim or a spend money setting, you will select the correct setting. Like if you're adding employee expense claims, you will tick the my expenses box. If you're adding a spend money setting, you just got to put in the business bank account number. That's it. Third thing is depending on whether you want anything that person uploads to be sent for approval, you can either add in the approval email address. If you add the approval email address and keep bypass approval unticked, EzzyBills will send everything that that user uploads for approval. If you don't want anything that the user uploads sent to be approval, you want it straight go to your accounting system, and then you want to check it in your accounting system, you can straight away click bypass approval, right? And whenever we put an employee expense in zero, we create that person's name as a supplier. So if you're going to use it for the first time, and this is the Teddy EXP, that's the username we have put in, Teddy EXP will be created as a supplier in zero, and on that supplier, we will send all the bills. So when your cycle ends, you will end up reimbursing him, right? Next thing is mobile app settings configurations. Now that is the easiest thing to do. I'm gonna show you some screenshots to process and everything. The first thing that you will need to do is from the settings in your account settings, you have already added users. Now what you want to do is you want to communicate them that these are your alias names. This is what you need to put in your phone app. Either that, or most people would go with the simple method as well, wherein they would just give them the email address. Like I would just give Teddy email address. If you wanna claim it, send it to your this email address, which is expense claims email address. If you use the bank card, send it to that email address. Click a picture, send it to that email. That's it. However, the mobile method is, of course, it's a one-time setup, and then it's super easy to do. So let's look at that. So you've added users. Now you want to communicate that to the employees on the field. First thing you need to do is you need to download the instructions document from the EzzyBills, right? So it's in account settings. So you go into your account settings, and then you click on email me the EzzyBills mobile how to. That will then email you uh, EzzyBills instructions. You will get an email like such. There will be a PDF file. And then in that PDF file, there will be instructions for that user. So you can also see that this one is for Tech Advisor, which is my username. That's the one, Tech Advisor, right? So even when you're forwarding this document, and if you have multiple EzzyBills account, you can always cross-check for which account you've downloaded the instructions before sending it to your users. Now, let's see. Now I've sent this to my users and they are going to receive it, and I've asked them to follow the instruction. Now let's try to follow the instructions. I'm gonna do it side by side, right? Go to Play Store, search EzzyBills, download and install the app. Assuming I have downloaded and installed the app, and this is the first screen that I see. Now I'm showing you on my screen, I'm showing you two different things. This one is instructions, the PDF that you see, and this one is mobile app screenshots. This is the screen that you see when you have downloaded the EzzyBills phone app and you open it for the first time. Now, what does the instruction say? Click on login with QR code. Now, essentially, we've developed this method just because you can also use your username and password, but most of the time you're not comfortable sharing that with the employees on the field because then they can log into your EzzyBills account as well. So that's the reason you download the file from your settings, which then provides you with a safe method of login into EzzyBills. There is a QR code that lets them connect with your account. So they download the app, they click on login with QR code, and all they need to do is as soon as you click on login with QR code, this is the screen that you see. Now, the thing that you see here is my desk, but then you point that camera to your QR code in the PDF file, right? As soon as you point it, it's straight away connected. This is the screen that you land on. It will straight away give you option to scan now button, and then you can start scanning pictures right away. Now this is default setting. Now when I say default setting, we haven't added the users. So in this file, in this instructions file, I can also see There is also a list of users, right? We haven't added them yet. We've just connected EzzyBills. That's on default settings. Now, if anybody scans and uploads a bill now, it's gonna go as a normal supplier bill. There's nothing spend money or nothing employee expense limits, nothing's gonna happen. Because at the top here, you can say it just shows you the username, Tech Advisor, right? When you add the extra setting, that setting is shown to you in brackets in this page itself. So let's follow the steps. So you've added. Now the next thing it tells you is click on the gear icon settings if you want to add alias name, which are these alias name, correct? And it also tells you Kedar Visa. So this card is linked with bank account 7890. Kedar EXP is for expense claims, right? So these are the names that have been shown. Now, what me as a user wants to do is put these names in EzzyBills phone app, right? The next thing I do is I click on the settings, it's also mentioned here. Click on the gear icon to change the settings. So if I click on settings, this is the screen that I come on to. I'm seeing the username and I'm seeing alias name. And then I'm wondering, I can type something in here. So there is these two names I need to type in, but you can't do two in one. So it has to be two settings. Now, the key to understand here is this EzzyBills app setting has one connection. You can only see there is one row of connection. It means one connection. However, to configure these settings, since there are two, we need two connections, correct? When I say two connection, it simply means we need two rows which will say the same thing. Then we can add two alias names. To do that, it's super easy. You will just repeat the steps again. You see an add account button. As soon as you click add accounts, it's gonna take you on this screen. You can click login with QR code, scan the QR code again, right? Now, in this case, let's assume I have Visa, which is my spend money and employee expense claims, but I also want to have the facility wherein I can quickly upload supplier bills. I get paper bills and I just want to update them as normal supplier bills. For normal supplier bills, we need default setting. We don't need to change anything. So in this case, specifically in this case, I'm going to need three connections. One for my spend money, one for my expense claims, and one normal for uploading supplier bills. In that case, I'm going to repeat the connection step twice. I already have one connection. I need two more connections. So I'm going to repeat the add account step twice. I will click on add account, scan the QR code, then I'll see one more row. I'm gonna click on add account and scan the QR code once again, 3 times in total. That's when I see this setting. So, all right. So now let's just come to the app. So when I click on add account code and scan the QR code, I get one more connection. I repeat it twice. And then at the end, this is how my settings in the phone app are going to look. Now I have three connections, Tech Advisor, Tech Advisor, Tech Advisor. That's my username, right? And I also see some buttons. One of the setting is highlighted in green. That means it's currently connected. And the other two settings, I can see options either remove or connect, right? Now what I need to do is I need to add these names in the alias. Now it doesn't really matter. You can select any two and add that name. For the first one, since this is already selected, I'm just gonna add one of the alias names here. The order, nothing matters. It's not case sensitive at all. So I'm just gonna type one of the settings, let's say k.exp. This is what I've done. So I'm still connected to that one account, no changes there. And I've just typed k.exp. I've looked it here, I've checked the spelling, I've typed exactly the same thing. And then to save this setting, I have to click on the back button that is on the top, right? As soon as I do this, I've typed it, I've clicked on back, this setting is configured. As soon as I click on back, I'm gonna go on the scan now screen, and then there, notice the change. Initially, we could only see Tech Advisor, the username. Now we also see in the brackets the alias name that I have put in, correct? So that means this setting is now complete. Now this setting is complete and I see K.exp. Now, if I upload anything, if I click a picture of receipt, it will be processed as an expense claim because I have the correct setting. You just repeat this step again. So you go in settings again, then you click on the connect to the other two, which are still showing just Tech Advisor. One of them will be K.exp. So you click on connect on the other. And then again, alias name will be empty. You just put the next one in there. And once you've put in that, you click back again to save that setting. And after that, when you come in settings, this is how it will look. So first one is configured for expense claims. The second one is configured for spend money. And the third one is just normal bills. Now, if I open my app, if I come on this screen and I see, oh, I'm currently on expense claim setting, right? But I want to upload a normal supplier bill. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on that gear icon again, and I'm going to click on the connect button for that particular setting. That's all that I'm going to do. At the same time, if I am already connected to normal and I want to connect to Visa because I've just made a transaction, I want to process a spend money transaction. As soon as I click connect, it's going to bring me onto this screen straight away. So I see it's Visa on the top. That means it's spend money setting. I click scan now, upload the document, it's done, right? And when you click scan now, there is this screen, the camera opens up. You also have the facility to add any comments or any job number or any information that you want to. You click on this icon, you add that. And once you're done, you just click a picture and then it's uploaded. Pretty simple. Right. So that was about adding employees and configuring the phone app settings. I hope you've understood that. The next is the budget. So what is this budget new feature? As I've mentioned before, you can have a workflow and give a budget limit to that workflow. For example, you're starting a new project and it's gonna go for about 2 months and you have about 20,000 budget for that project. So you can create a workflow for that budget. Let's do that. So I go to workflow and then I have this workflow EzzyBills, right? So I want to create a new workflow specifically for that project or for that employee. So I'm going to click on new, and then I'm just going to copy the EzzyBills workflow, right? So I've copied that workflow. I will rename it firstly to whichever project I want to rename it to. So I do project, let's say Brisbane, right? So I have created a workflow specifically for a project, and then I want to set the budget. The budget, you set it in workflow, you will see a start button. That's where you will set the budget. So you click on this start task, and then you say the workflow budget and when this workflow is going to start, when you want to start that project. You just simply need to copy and paste it, correct? Change the workflow budget. If you want to set 20,000, you will put 20,000. The date, let's say I want to start it on 1st of December, and then you save it. That's it. That's all done. Now this workflow is ready. We have set the budget of 20,000 on that workflow. And now any expense that comes onto that project or you've spent towards that project, you just need to put that bill onto this workflow. Now there are two methods. Again, you can use the drop down or you can use the workflow email address as well. So this is the workflow email address for that workflow. As also, if you go onto the dashboard, and if you expand the tray, you will see the project Brisbane. You can always drag and drop bills. So if you have bills on your computer, you can simply drag and drop in the project Brisbane, right? What's going to happen now, because we have given it a budget and now we're going to process bills on that workflow, every time there's a bill comes in, EzzyBills is going to record it on that budget and it will be shown to you whenever you download the budget report. I'm going to show you budget report in about a minute now. So, and at the same time, if anytime it so happens you're uploading bills and then one point comes in where you upload another bill and that is going to overshoot the budget limit, that's when that bill fails and you see an error saying budget limit was X. I'll just show you the error. So if that happens, this is something that you see, right? So my budget for that workflow was 900, and then this invoice came in, which was 200, which is overshooting the budget. This is what you will be shown. Invoice rejected. Total budget for the project is 500. Current invoice is 200, but it exceeds the amount. So you will get an error message, and that bill will not process, right? Um, at the same time, you can use this feature for different tasks. So it's not that you can just use it for a new job that you're doing. You can use it for employees if you want to set a budget. If you can use it for different projects if you want to set a budget. And whenever you want to have a look at the report as to so far how much you have spent on that particular project or particular employee has spent, you can simply go into apps section. There is a budget report, and then you just click start from here, right? As soon as you click start, EzzyBills will generate a report from the start date of your budget till today, and then it's gonna show it to you. If you want specific period report, you can also put the condition of start date and end date, and then you can start the report. How the budget report looks is, let's look at that. There you go. So this is the budget report. So if you go in settings and if you click on start the report, this is how EzzyBills generates it. So you can see now we have two projects. There is one employee, Steve. The budget for that is 1,500. Budget period is 1st November to 23rd because I've generated this report today. And then if you see the project path, we can see there is quite a few bills that have been processed, and the budget limit was 900. So far, bills have been processed. So if I try to put any more bills on this workflow, it's not gonna go through because it will overshoot the budget, right? And if you want to see the bills, you can simply click view, and EzzyBills will show you the bill that was uploaded. So this is, and you get invoice number, PO number, supplier, and the total amount. So this is the report that you get when you're using the workflows. And all the work, if you have, let's say, 5 different projects which you are tracking, you're uploading bills to 5 different workflows, you will see all the 5 different projects here, and each project with the bills, the number of bills that you've uploaded onto that project. Okay, so coming back to the budget section, wherein depending on how many workflows or how many projects you're doing and how you would want to set the budget, and you want to monitor what's the spend on that particular project or by that employee, you will need to create that many workflows. And if you think it's a bit complex, that's fine. Just get in touch with support team. Use your requirements as to you want to track 1 project, 2 project. This should be the name. This should be the budget. This is the start date, and then we'll happy to configure that workflow for you. It's really easy, but sometimes it just gets difficult when it comes to you setting the correct settings in the workflow. And once you have those workflows, you will get the upload email addresses where you can send bills to track the spend on that budget, right? And then EzzyBills is gonna capture all the information. It will reject the bill if it overshoots the budget, and it will process if it's within the limit of the budget. And whenever you want to generate the report, you just gotta go to apps section and just click on start button in the app. So you go here, you find the budget report, you click on budget report, scroll down, you click start. Automatically a report will be generated. It takes about, depending on how many projects you're tracking, how many workflows you have for the budget set with the budget setting on, it takes about anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. And then it will be shown to you in the search approve. And there we go, successfully uploaded, exported budget report. You click on the report, you have a look at the budget, you have a look at the bills. If you want to download bills, you can download bills. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. And it's also, just to mention, it's not that if you set a budget once, it cannot be changed. So if there comes a bill which is overshooting the budget, but you still want it to be exported, It's very simple to amend that budget and increase that budget. And once it's increased and the settings are saved, you should be able to export that bill. Oh, that's a good question. Can budget period be changed? Yes and no. So I would say yes. And so when you're assigning a budget to a workflow, you also assign the start date of that project. So if you have a project which is upcoming and it's going to start in December, so in November itself, you will be creating that workflow and you will mention that it's going to start in December, 1st December, and it will have a budget of, let's say, 15,000, right? And then from that date onwards, the bills that will come onto that workflow, EzzyBills will track it. EzzyBills will keep a record of it. EzzyBills will note all the amounts, everything, and then it's gonna cross-check that. Every time a bill comes in, uh, what EzzyBills will do is EzzyBills is gonna take the total of that bill plus all the previous bills, check it against your budget limit, and if it allows, if the budget limit allows, if it's within the budget limits, then it's gonna be exported, right? So the period of report can be changed. If you want to just have report for November, just not December, you can set it when you are exporting the report. But if you're asking if the starting date of budget can be changed, I'm not sure if that is possible. That like you can change it, but there will be bills that have already been recorded. So it's better if you starting a different project, you would just create another workflow to track that. I have an interesting question here. Can expenses be split to multiple tracking categories via apps to zero? Um, well, that's a pretty standard feature that we have. We have split invoice, wherein we split a bill or an expense into preset categories. So if you say you want to split it in 50-50 or 30-30, 40, something like that, so we automatically split it, and we have the functionality to split it first and assign a tracking category, a different one to each of them, correct? So it can be automated as well in workflow customization. Also, if you use approvals, in approvals you can also use the show table option where we show you, I can quickly show you. So if you're using approvals, so if you're using approvals and if you're on approval dashboard screen, which is this one, and then you want to split a bill, for example, let's say this is a bill, $1,000. If you want to split it, what you can do is you can use our show table functionality. Uh, you can delete the previous rows, you can add new rows, say line 1, line 2, so far and so forth. And then you can assign tracking to each of them, a different tracking to each of them. So that's supported as well. You can also manually do it and put the correct amounts, correct totals. That's it. And once you're done, you can just go ahead and you click approve. So we also automate it, but that's more gonna be fixed percentage, wherein in this method, you can, if it's dynamic, if it's, today you're gonna split it 50-50, tomorrow you're gonna split it 30-70, the day after it's 80-20, if something like that, then it's much better to handle it at approvals level that allows you to set the amount, set the tracking. But if it's fixed percentage, you can just let us know, get in touch with support, and then we will add that customized workflow for you where you can split it automatically between said percentage. However, custom workflow, we also need to note that custom workflows are only supported in premium plans and above. So the light and standard plans will not support the custom workflows. It's only for customers who have premium subscription and above. Oh, batch in email for approval. Yes, absolutely. You can just set the batching time yourself. So if you go to workflow, right, and if you have the submit approval task, like if you know which one you want to you want to batch for, and which approval are we talking about. If you have multiple levels, it's better you get in touch with support asking this person at this level would want to batch. But if you just have one level, then you can just go submit approval, and then in here you can enable batching. Just enable that setting. You need to put in the days, like whether it's you want to batch it for 1 day, 2 day, 7 days, one email in 7 days. So you can put it here. So let's say 1 day. So so in 24 hours, all the bills that have come in will be clubbed in, and then you will get a batch email. One email will have all those 20 bills that have come in last 24 hours, and then that's how the batching works. And so on and so forth. If you said 2 days, it's gonna be 48 hours, etc., etc. If you have any questions regarding how you can create the workflows, or you want assistance in creating workflows for, and you want to try this budgeting and you want to try the budgeting and the reports. So if you think that it's a bit difficult, it's still a bit difficult, you can just get in touch with us. Our email address is support. That's our email address, support@ezzytalk.com. Just send us an email and give us some information about what is it that you're looking for. If you're looking for a single project, multiple projects, start date, etc., etc., and then we will configure that workflow for you. We can also combine the budgeting along with the approvals as well. So if that project is linked to a certain manager, and all the bills that are gonna go on that project should go through a manager who's the stakeholder for that project, we can set him as an approver. So every time a bill comes in, EzzyBills tracks it, logs it in the budgeting report, and then it sends it to the manager. And once manager approves, then EzzyBills exports it to zero. So we can do that as well. So and EzzyBills, you can customize, like we can customize the product in the ways you would want your workflow to be. Like if you have certain objectives, you tell us this is what I want to do. We can think of a few, perhaps a few workflows which will suit you the best, and we can combine approvals and budgeting, expense claims and approvals, all that sorts of stuff. All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you all for being here. You've been quite patient listening to me. If you have any questions, any queries about anything else, or even this particular mobile expense claims and budgeting, please send us an email on support@ezzytalk.com. All right, thank you all. Thank you for today.